these numbers here. On the other page, you'll see our routine maintenance. This page does not include any pre-planned projects that we have currently in place, such as a multi-street project and all that good stuff. All that is notated on page 10. Either more of a routine. The first page is strictly work orders, so just in case you have any questions. Is there any questions?
Is that it? All right, council, no other questions? All right, we'll move on to our next, which is gonna be.
Special How's the water wells doing?
Good, actually. We got one right now that is waiting back T samples. We had to shut it down because they found a leak inside it's nothing we did. It's basically an oversight from the maintenance program we saw. So it's minor, but the thing is that I think the bacteria sample coming back is taking longer than the actual work performed on all the well. That would be the Colorado.
How about the,
North, Cherry, East, no.
the street, are we doing some streets or?
The multi-street, correct, that's correct. We're on schedule right now. I've got the guys in training right now in Waco, Texas. Part of their training is due annually. We scheduled for that. That one's on schedule. But as far as the multi-street, we do have, we're on schedule. We're on the second street.
Can you remind me of the street you're doing that?
Yes, Medina, West Brazos, West Medina. I was San Marcos Street from Cherry to Willow.
Just a quick question, do we have anyone in your department that is backflow certified?
No, we do not backflow certified.
Just to let you know, the city of Corpus Christi
Mhm.
has a backflow program.
Mhm.
If you want to take the course, they have a program that they will literally pay for it,
Oh, wow.
and you just gotta go take it.
And you have all this contact information?
Yeah, if you go online, it's called, actually, it's the backflow preventative, program through Corpus Christi.
Are you certified?
I'm certified.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Are we allowed to check our own stuff?
No, well, no.
I know that's part of the reason why we don't have anybody certified. Because we have, I don't know if we're allowed moonlight, but we have.
So like, if you got someone certified,
Mhm.
then they could check anything that belongs to the city.
They could. Oh, that's what I asked.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if they could be done.
Because we were told
You can do it, you can check your own,
Are we inspecting ourselves then?
yes, but it's not recommended for you to check someone else's as a city entity.
No, I get it. I was asking the other way.
Yeah.
To check our own stuff.
Yeah, I could check my own, yeah,
Hmm.
because
Look into
if I check my own and I falsify anything, then it's not only a penalty, it's a lot that goes with it.
'Cause we were told the opposite. That
Yeah.
we couldn't check our own stuff. So
Yeah.
that's why we haven't pushed for it to get certified.
We'll look into it, I think on that end. The other thing, I think we actually forgot to mention, the council, y'all approved the $1.2 million project out of the wastewater treatment plant. And we've now began the fabrication, I say, with the company we're working with, and that is, again, it's a project that it's in progress, but I know you don't see anything because the actual, what we need is being fabricated for that project. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Good.
All right, city secretary for the record, Councilwoman Garza, arrived at 6:15.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next up is, our new finance director, Ms. Monica.
I'm starting off on page 11. This is new to the council reporting. I set up a utility reporting just so you can get some more figures. As time goes on, again, as I had mentioned earlier, as we go through the meetings, there'll be more data in here. I'm currently working on having one of our staff members train them up to kind of be a utility analyst in that role and be able to run numbers for us on how we're doing. So at the top on the left, you see that April utility revenues, it was over $636,000 for the month. The connection activity, we had 12 connections and 13 disconnects. At the bottom, this piece is important, the past due balances. This is only for the last 3 months. Any past dues over 3 months are incorporated in this, correct? Okay, so what I have tasked my staff to do is to start collecting, but we're gonna keep track of the data to see how much we're collecting month over month. So next month, we'll report back to you on how much we've collected to bring this balance down, or if there were additions to that. So this is just, again, a new snapshot of our utility reporting you'll be seeing month over month.
No, because this all utilities, this is.
Yes, sir, it's just utility. So then we'll get into the financial reports, and I'm just going to go through, page 37, it's just a summary. But as of April 30th, the city has completed 58.33% of the fiscal year. The unaudited revenues and expenditure summaries for the general and utility funds have been provided for your review. So far, we have exceeded our expenditures by approximately $666,000. So one of the things that you'll notice in here is a lot of our trainings, any out-of-town trainings especially, most of them are done during the spring and the summer. That's generally when those conferences are occurring. So hopefully by the end of the year, we won't have that much in expenses, so that'll taper off. So the sales tax revenue year-to-date was $1.5 million, or 54% of the budget. The utility funds revenues did exceed expenditures by around $183,000. The revenue includes water, sewer, and natural gas sales. Total sales revenue to date was over $3 million, or 56.3% of the budget. Both of these expenditures, set of expenditures on the reporting is in line within the period of the time frame through April. The general fund expenditures were 51.26% of the budget, and utilities fund expenditures were 43% of the budget. So this just indicates that we're about halfway through the year, so these should roughly be around the 50% margin for usage of those expenditures. So we're pretty much in line with this. Any questions?
Mayor, I have a question for the department. Fred, can you walk me through the process that you guys have in place when you get a new customer coming to the door asking for utility service? What is the process for the city?
That's a good question. When we're talking about, and actually, we're working on that process as well. But generally what happens if somebody comes in for service, one, we verify, they should fill out an application. And then what they've done historically, this is part of what we're working on, is if a customer wants a water tap, we ask, okay, do you have a permit for anything that you're doing? We wanna know if it's in a new structure, if it's a trailer that they brought in that they want service for. So we're looking into all that information to verify that that's, and then the other thing that we look at is whether the property's been platted correctly, platted at all. Part of what we're having an issue with, quite frankly, is property in the ETJ. Because some of that property, the ETJ is for those of y'all that, all the council should be aware, but if you're not, it's anything that's 1 mile outside the city limits. That we, the city, also provide utilities for. There's water and sewer services that are outside the city limits that we provide water and sewer for. Our regulations require that these properties be platted and they comply with what they call our subdivision regulations. So what we're asking folks is making sure that one, we have the water and sewer available, and that we have an adequate amount available of utilities, because we have some lines out there, and in fact, you could probably speak to this, that are smaller lines, and there's only a certain amount of connections we can allow for these smaller lines. Our lines that we allow commercial, or what we call our bigger lines, are 6 inches or more, and that you can have a lot, several accounts tap into. It's where we start running into the smaller lines, the 2-inch lines, that we start having questions about can we legitimately provide water to these people and not affect pressure to other customers. So to answer your question, we have an application process. We verify that what's on the application. We verify address, making sure that what the customer's saying is accurate. And then we try to get them the water, what our process is gonna be. We try to get them the services turned on within a 24-hour period. So we're changing that because ultimately what was happening is that as soon as the customer asked for it, it was almost automatic. I mean, I say automatic within a few hours. A few hours doesn't give us the time to really do the assessment of, whether somebody has, a legitimate account what it is that we're dealing with. And we know, so what we will do is, a lot of the folks that live here, we use Hector a lot, he knows where the addresses are, he knows the people, so we are verifying that. We run into issues where, addresses are incorrect, some of the addressing is off. If you guys look at some of the lots and blocks, there's some that are off, okay? So we're trying to not get into those type of issues, or make it worse, because you do have some addressing. Normally, the address it's 100 block, 200 block, 300 block. We have addresses where it goes from 100 to 700 back to 300. And these are just problems that have been created over the course of several years. So we're just trying to, again, not make the problem worse, but just verifying the information once we receive the application.
And when you say we, who is we?
We
Who
use-
monitors the process?
It's normally utility billing, and this, actually, the process we're working on would include also the finance director, and I believe Ms. Moran also has a box to check off on, if you will. So that's what we're doing, and I know it's probably a little more cumbersome, tedious for customers, but that's what we try to get them something back, because we know they need water too.
And that's a complaint we're getting from some of the community, is there's a miscommunication among, what has to be presented
Yes, sir.
and in order to get those services. And so my concern is, I believe it's everybody's spitting out something.
Yep.
And there's not a main role within the job description to say, I have the authority to make this decision
Right.
at the desk and during in front of this customer. And so I think that's where the concern of the citizen is, and so I can't speak with everybody else, but I get phone calls saying, you know what? I went and so-and-so told me yes, and I went and so-and-so told me no. So it's back and forth, so then there we go, spitting it out on social media, this and that and it. So I believe that that's what needs to happen is, there has to be certain people in these roles that say, I have the power to make that decision based on city manager, finance director, whoever is on it.
Yeah, I think to that point, yes, sir, we are entrusting people to take on these roles. Again, part of what we want to make on our end is verify that what people are saying is correct, because it has been an issue with particularly, where I have a play in this, or we have a play, at least for myself, right, is the addressing part. And that's where my role is. If somebody's requesting a new address, that's one of the, I think my only role in this whole process. But if somebody has an address, if they already have services, normally the process isn't very tedious. I'm saying that in most cases.
Thank you.
One of the things, to speak to that, one of the things that, we are trying to explain to the customers in providing a deed, for example, or a tax statement that matches their identification to, their driver's license, is we're essentially also trying to prevent fraud. The squatters' rights have a lot to do with that, especially for owners that have, rental properties and several tenants. It becomes that much more difficult for that owner to remove a squatter if they've established utilities, because then they're proving their claim on that property. So we're trying to make sure and have them understand that as well. We're really trying to prevent fraud and protect them from those types of issues.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just want to give kudos to the finance department. We're running a surplus on general fund and utility fund, so just grateful for that. To remind the council that when we had that problem out at the wastewater plant, we were able to use that money out of reserves instead of having to borrow a substantial amount. So good job, administration, again, in keeping us in a positive cash position, which is very important. Thank you very much, Monica, and welcome. Glad to have you. Moving on next to our Assistant City Manager, Yolanda, Community Development Report.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As you know, I do have the public library codes, building, and of course, planning and community development. I will cover the Pierceville Public Library. We've gone through some restructuring of staff as well. To address Councilman Leal's question, we are looking at creating programs for the summer, creating a summer activities guide book that will include all the different types of programs that we will offer. And we are focusing on activities for our youth to get them off the street. We recognize that during the summer, we need to be able to offer our youth and our kids something to do. And we are strictly focusing on offering some of those programs. We did participate in the solar eclipse. That was very successful. The library was responsible for the activities that were held out there that day. We do have about almost 900 patrons that walk through our door. We're looking to increase that, and we're also looking at increasing the membership cards also on that. Any questions regarding the library? We're still continuing to look at policies, cash management, handling policies especially, utilizing some of the software that has not been utilized. So we are extremely excited about some of the programs and policies that we will be bringing to council in the future. With regards to codes, Mr. Esquivel has been very active. If you will note on the graph, the case count status, we have currently about 31 cases that have been created. For the quarter, we have closed or resolved 75 cases, which is an increase from last month, I believe. We have 26 open and 2 that are pending further action. One thing I'd like to note is that we have made, Mr. Esquivel has made contact with the railroad regarding the status of demolition of that Comal building that you see out there, where we find a lot of homeless tend to gather there, or it becomes a haven for other illegal activities. So we have made contact with the railroad. They are looking at demolishing that building. So we will keep you all informed. We are working, we will be meeting with Public Works and PD to bring back to you a program to do some demolition during the summer of some substandard buildings as well.
Yolanda, is that the A-frame building? Is that the one?
I'm sorry?
Was that the A-frame building?
Is that?
The biggest one.
Okay. That caught on fire or something?
Yes, it was used. Anything else that I looked at? Mr. Esquivel? Moving forward with the building inspections department, you will note the revenue was $13,418 again, which is we are keeping in line with what we're bringing in as revenue. Permits are being issued. We try to do those on a timely basis as much as possible. Some of those we can't because these permit applications may be incomplete, therefore we can't process them unless we get that information, so we can then forward that to our third-party contractor, BVNA. You will note, you do have a report on the different types of cases that we have. Most of them are building permits that have been issued. I don't have anything to report on there. The community development and planning, I would like to note that we currently still have about 4 or 5 businesses that we're looking at. Pizza Hut, we had a pre-construction meeting with the contractors. They're about ready to get started. However, I was contacted last week that one of their contractors has since left, so we will have to do another pre-construction contract meeting, but they are still trying to get on schedule with that. You will have, we have Lindsay Lane Retail. You have a preliminary plat that you will be looking at this evening. We are continuing to work with the refuel also. They're about ready to, next month we will bring you their final plat as well. Let's see what else. I did go out and visit a program called Come Dream, Come Build, and that is a program for affordable housing. We have reached out to them to go back out there and take a tour of their homes and how they're built, and we'd like to bring that program to the city of Pearsall as well. That is it. Any
Council, any
questions?
questions? All right, Yolanda, thank you very much. All right, moving on, we've got our municipal court reports. Judge De Leon?